Good afternoon, TLU Bulldogs and Bulldog parents. It's nice to be with you again for a town hall that's designed especially to provide some information and updates that I hope you'll find helpful. As I get started today, I again want to say that I hope that each of you are safe and well. I hope, even in these days of some limited reopenings and some relaxed restrictions, I still hope that you are taking good care of yourself, that you're following all of the right guidelines, sticking to the rules about how we can best end COVID-19, being patient, and finding ways each day to enjoy grace, comfort, and growth. I last spoke to you on April the 13th when you were a few weeks into your online courses. And now we're at the end of the semester with your courses completed today and your exams to begin soon. I want to thank you for all that you've done to continue learning and working during these weeks and to congratulate you on completing your courses under very unusual circumstances. I also want to acknowledge your faculty members who've worked very hard to ensure that you got what you needed this semester, even in a format that was not expected. I also want to say again that your absence on our campus is a daily reminder to me that we are really being asked to sacrifice this semester in order to do our part to continue to help the world heal and get back on track. We're willing to do that, of course, but I want to remind you again that we miss you very much on this campus, and we're eager to have you back. Today, I again want to provide updates to you in three major categories. So let me first start with academics. The most important thing for you to do right now is to focus on your upcoming exams and to prepare for completing your semester in strong fashion. I know that some of you have opted to take your courses credit, no credit, while others of you are still set to receive a letter grade. And please remember that you have until 11:59 tonight to finalize those grading decisions via MyTLU. Whatever you've determined about your grades, I encourage you to work hard to prepare for your exams and let your studying help solidify what you've learned this semester. And remember that just as they have been all semester, your faculty members remain available to help you during the final exam period and after. Along with that, please don't forget that all of TLU's support network is still in place for you. Our advising office, our career development office, our counseling services, student financial services, the registrar, all of it. Even with most of our staff still working remotely, every TLU office is open and available to help you. So please be sure to let us do that as you conclude this semester. As I told you in our last two town halls, we're here for you. It may look and feel a little different, but we are here for you now, and we will be here for you in more traditional and normal ways just as soon as that is safe and possible. I know that you've also had some questions about textbook rental returns and library book returns. Though we are not asking you to come to campus to tend to these returns anytime soon, we do anticipate that with the lifting of the stay-at-home order across Texas and in Guadalupe County, you will still have the option to return to campus to take care of these matters if you wish to. Along with that, if you are a student who was unable to move out of your residence hall before the stay-at-home order went into place, you will have the opportunity to return to campus starting next week to do that. I do want to encourage you not to let any of these issues distract you from preparing for your exams. We will work with you on your returns and on your move out with a schedule that does not impact your studying and your preparation for your finals. And above all, any return to campus will be operated with safety as our top priority. Next, I want to talk a bit about finances, and there are three major categories of financial assistance that I want to remind you about. First of all, as you know, if you lived or ate on campus this spring, you're going to receive a refund for the unused portion of your room and board charges. Checks are being sent this week with a prorated amount that is based on your individual situation. If you have any questions about that, please contact our Student Financial Services office. And again, expect those checks to be arriving to you via mail soon. Second, if you received federal work-study money, you should have now received your payment for that, regardless of the situation with your campus job. If you have any questions about that or things have not happened as you think they should have, again, I refer you to our Student Financial Services office. And third, TLU has now received federal funds that are designed to help students who have suffered hardships, financial hardships, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Please note that these are grants, not loans. Application for these funds are available through our Student Financial Services office. You will need to have a FAFSA completed and then demonstrate specifically what you need funding for. If you have expenses related to your living arrangements, technology, food, transportation, or other costs that you may now have difficulty covering because of the pandemic, these funds are designed for you. And while we have a year to distribute these funds, we're encouraging our students to apply for them quickly, as the money is available on a first-come, first-served basis. And we want to get it to you just as soon as possible. And the first of these checks will be going out beginning to students this week. Finally, I want to talk about summer, fall, and future events. Our plans for May term and Summer A are unchanged. All classes will be online and there will be no residence halls open except for those students who request and are approved for continued emergency housing. For Summer B, which is the month of July, we still hope to offer both in-person and online courses with limited housing available for research and internship students. Our plans for July, of course, are dependent on how the next several weeks unfold and on our ability to begin to bring students back to campus for some classes in a safe way. Regarding summer research opportunities for students, those opportunities are being determined by individual faculty members who have evaluated if the planned research work can take place within the parameters above. I do want to thank all of you who will be taking advantage of our summer courses, which are offered at a lower rate than our long semester courses. We currently have 524 students registered for the 67 courses being offered, and we look forward to having all of you be part of our summer academic program. If you're still interested in registering for summer courses, and/or if you've not yet registered for the fall semester, please be in contact with the registrar's office. Looking to a bit later in the summer, we are still planning a historic commencement celebration for the class of 2020 on Saturday, August the 1st. Our plan, assuming that it is safe to do this and does not violate any health guidelines, is to have an evening ceremony with several other on-campus events preceding that, honoring several of our student groups, including athletes, nursing students, and graduate students. Seniors will receive more details soon. So seniors, keep working hard, finish your work successfully, and look forward to a great event on August the 1st. I know that for returning students, there are many questions now beginning to come up about the fall semester. Will we start on time? Will our classes begin online? Will our classes be online all semester? Will the residence halls be open? So here's what I can tell you right now. Our goal and strong desire is to have as usual an opening as possible, and to do that in the safest way possible. We want you here. We have not yet made any final decisions about the fall because we think we can do that best with a little more time to understand the likely fall environment that we will face. That said, we are reading and thinking and discussing and evaluating all the issues we need to consider, and we will certainly keep you updated as decisions are made. No matter what happens, our goal is to bring you back safely and then to ensure that you have the best experience possible as a Bulldog. And to do that, we will have to consider some additional precautions and make sure that we have everything ready for you to thrive once you're back. As I wrap up my comments today and turn to take questions, I again want to thank you for your efforts this semester. You've both traveled through history and made history, working through this spring in an environment that none of us expected or were prepared for. Sure, at times you've been frustrated, maybe even angry, but you've persisted, you've made it to the end of classes, and you've proved that a big, challenging pandemic is not going to stop you. Thank you for your resilience and for your adaptability and for your belief in your university. I'll stop now and take any questions that you want to send in. Those will be relayed to me as usual, and I'll respond to them as they come in.
Our first question is, how do we forward our mail?
The question is, how do we forward our mail? I assume this is a question about your, not about email, but about your hard copy mail that comes into campus. So we do have a form that can be completed so that your mail can be forwarded to you to the address that you want it to be sent. You can request that form from our post office, or if you're not quite sure how to do that, if you're in touch with Bill Center, he can relay that information to the post office, make sure we get your information, and then forward your email to you.
The second is a comment and question. Thank you for everything you have done for us during this time. Are you and your husband doing okay? Also, how are your dogs?
So this is a comment thanking me, which I appreciate very much. And I want to say on that you know, it's a team of us who are working here. I have great folks around me helping with all the decisions and all the work that needs to be done. And that certainly makes going through something like this a much more manageable process. Alan and I are doing well. We're being mindful of all the precautions we need to take. We don't go out. I sometimes say I feel like I'm a presidential monk. I walk to my office, I walk home, I don't go off the sidewalk, I don't go anywhere I shouldn't, but we're doing fine. The dogs also are doing well. They miss the students terribly. They really miss the opportunity to bark at you all as you walk on the back sidewalk there, but they're doing fine, and I'll tell them hello from you.
Another question, any updates on the class rings?
Regarding the class rings, we did have this question about any updates on that. We did have some further follow-up and conversation. We're still planning to have a ring ceremony next year in conjunction with the normal ring ceremony we would have, and to have it be a dual celebration. If you have further questions about that and need more information, I encourage you to be in touch with Renee Rayfeld in our development office.
Next question, will commencement still be in front of the chapel?
So this is a question about where commencement will be located. At this time, our plan is to hold commencement inside in the gym, where it will be cooler and air conditioned. Our main concern is just that it's going to be too warm in early August to have an enjoyable event outside. That said, we are going to do everything we can to make it a very special and memorable event and celebration of the class of 2020. And we do hope to have some components of that celebration that will be unique to this year's commencement. But in all likelihood, it will be held indoors.
A parent has a question. How has the school handled situations to help students not eligible for emergency financial aid, such as DACA students and international students? Does the university have a grant for these students?
So this is a good question about for students who are not eligible for the emergency aid that I spoke about, such as DACA students or international students. How are we working with them? And so what we're trying to do is when we hear from students, or if we're aware of students who are in that situation, we're working with them individually. We do have some institutional student emergency funds, limited funds, but we do have some, and we're able to help students that way. The best thing we can do is understand their individual situation and needs, and then see what resources we have to help them. But we have been able to be attentive to that and to help those students as we learn about their situation.
Kevin has a question. Is there a chance that fall athletic programs will not take place even if students are back on campus?
So very good question about athletics for the fall, any chance of things being rearranged there. So what we do on athletics is we take our lead from both the NCAA and then our conference, SCAC. And at this time, no changes have been announced for the fall semester. I know the hope certainly by both of those organizations is that we would have a regular start. But if they direct us otherwise, we will have to follow that. We would of course communicate that to students just as quickly as possible. I know also that one issue that has come up regarding athletics is if there needed to be a delay, the potential of just delaying and not having any non-conference events and then just starting with conference events. But I need to say that no decision has been made about that, but everyone of course is watching and working to figure out what will be the best thing to do. As soon as we know anything, we'll make sure that our student athletes are aware of that.
Do you think living situations will be altered, such as fewer people in the dorms and apartments to increase social distancing, such as only 2 people per room? Also, will classroom sizes be smaller?
So I think that we could have to look at some rearrangements in the residence halls in order to ensure, I think what we would say would be a greater level of safety, and also question regarding the size of classrooms and maybe students in those classes. I do think we're going to have to look at all of that. And when I talked about earlier about the issues that we're working through, these are exactly the kinds of issues we are working through. The starting point is this: we don't want to bring our students back and in any way endanger our students from being in an environment that's not safe for them or for our faculty and staff. And so what we have to understand is what that's going to look like when we do have a greater number of people on campus, and what do the residence halls need to look like. We're evaluating all of that, but I do anticipate that we're going to have to approach some of the arrangements on campus, living and otherwise, in some different ways. I don't think that it's going to be unworkable. I don't think that it's going to disrupt the strength of TLU or of our ability to deliver our programs well and for students to have a great experience. But I do think we're going to have to look at that and make some decisions and have that clear and understood before you all start to come back.
Will other campus buildings be open soon now that the distancing ban has been lifted?
So a question about our campus buildings. Are we going to start opening up more campus buildings now that the stay-at-home order has been adjusted? Right now, we are operating in the same mode that we have been for the last several weeks, which is that our campus is closed and we have very limited access to our buildings. And we're not changing that immediately. The governor's order and the county judge's order allow for campuses to provide an on-campus work environment for people who have to be here to ensure that our online teaching environment and our support of students is in place. But it does not reopen either public schools or colleges and universities to full-fledged return to an open campus. So what we're doing is, for now, maintaining our work arrangement, which has about 80% of our faculty and staff working off campus. We will be, again, evaluating that and looking at some phased return of our employees, but not immediately. And again, it will be phased. And I think the reopening of buildings will be tied to that as we start to bring more people back to campus. But I can't emphasize enough how important it is to us to do this in a safe way, in a way that ensures that our campus is in the best situation it can be in to be prepared for us to bring our students back.
A similar question from a parent: will decisions to reopen the campus follow state guidelines, or will this decision be based on independent research?
A question about decisions about opening the campus following state guidelines or independent research. We are following state guidelines, and as I just referenced, the information in the governor's order for schools, including higher education, is that we officially remain closed through the end of this academic year with only limited areas on campus open to serve the students. and their education environment. So first and foremost, we look to what the government guidelines are and follow those. We do have to make some individual decisions, but we are taking our lead from what the government is giving us, and we look at that every day. We follow closely on the governor's orders, on county orders, and anything we need to know to understand how that impacts TLU.
Another parent question: why is it that you all chose to have the grading scale close on the last day of classes? Don't you think it would be beneficial for the students?
A question about why we chose today, the last day of classes, for the grading decision to be made. Our faculty had a lengthy and robust discussion about this, and I think what I would say is there was no perfect day to decide that this would happen. Some thought maybe earlier, some thought maybe later, but I think the final consensus was, as students wrap up their coursework and move into finals, they should be in a position to know where they stand, or close to where they stand, and make a good decision about what way they wanted to approach their grades. I'll also add to this that our hope and our advice all the way through has been that students should make these decisions about how they're going to be graded in their courses, not just on their own, but this should be done in consultation with their faculty advisors who can help them think through, make sure that any decision they make is in their best long-term interest in terms of their future career, graduate school, other plans they would have. So I hope that that has been done, and if it's not too late. You still have time to have conversations with your faculty advisors before finalizing your choices about grades in your courses.
Question about receipts. If you cannot show a receipt because it was misplaced or thrown away by mistake, what options could a student have to be sure that reimbursement can be made possible?
So this is a question about if you assume if you are attempting to receive the emergency aid and you don't have a receipt to show for an expense, what could be done? The best thing I can say is you should be in conversation with our Student Financial Services office. I know they're eager to work with you. They do have guidelines they have to work within, so I think one of the guidelines is that they need receipts. But if you don't have that receipt, then please be in conversation with them about what could be done.
What is the possibility of graduation being held in Jackson instead of the gym?
A question about graduation being held in Jackson instead of the gym. Of course, Jackson is where we have December graduation. I believe the issue is size. We don't have capacity in Jackson to host what is the typical size of a spring commencement event, which would then cause us to have some people in an overflow situation and would probably not be ideal for all of our families. So that's why we look to do it in the gym. And the gym has been the backup spot for spring commencement for a long time and has been used for that. So we know how to do it there, and we believe that can be workable.
With the checks sent back to students, will there be a pay cut to fall sports?
With checks being sent back to students, will there be a pay cut to fall sports? No, I don't anticipate those two things being linked. The checks being sent to students are in three categories: either the room and board refund, or the federal student work aid, or this emergency aid. And all of those have, certainly the second two are backed by federal dollars. And the first category is, of course, has an impact on our budget, but we're working on that. And while we will have to continue to work on that and make sure that our operational expenses are in line, we're not anticipating that the shortfall there would fall then to athletics.
Can seniors come to campus to take graduation pictures?
A question about can seniors come to campus to take graduation pictures, and I know I got this question last time. We are still asking that you not return to campus right now because we're officially still closed. We are going to allow students to come to campus to move out, but only to move out. We anticipate a bit later having the option of students coming to take care of the business of returning rental textbooks or library books. But we're limiting it to that and really trying to keep our campus closed and with very limited access. I fully understand why you want to come to campus to take graduation pictures. And I think you might think about that a little later in the summer when we anticipate things opening up a bit more, hopefully. That would certainly be, I think, a better option than trying to do that right away.
If we can't have graduation in August, will it just be canceled altogether?
So a question about what would happen if we cannot hold the August ceremony as planned. I think our commitment right now is to give you a commencement service. And if we can't do it on August 1st, we would have to reevaluate when would be the best time to do it and in what format that would unfold. And we would certainly be very disappointed if that happens, but I think our commitment would still be to attempt to give you a graduation ceremony and celebration.
A general question from a parent: do students have input into course design and selection?
A question about do students have input into course design and selection? So I would say that our students do have a good bit of input into our academic programs in general. Of course, those programs are overseen and led by our faculty, but there is ongoing evaluation of those programs, of our individual courses. We have program reviews where students, along with many others, participate in feedback on the majors that we offer. So I do think that students have input into the way academic programs work, and they're able to give feedback on individual courses. I think at times that can also happen less formally as students talk to their faculty members about what they found to be most helpful and ideas they have about how things could be better. Well, we certainly recognize our students are very important in this process of giving feedback of to our academic program, and so I would say yes, we do utilize students, and I would encourage any students who have suggestions or thoughts to be in touch with your faculty members. You can always talk to the department chair if you prefer to do that, but we would welcome your feedback and input.
I skipped a question I'm going to go back to right now. Have you considered, this is from a parent, have you considered students in the decision making by sending out surveys to see how they feel about certain decisions that you take to the faculty, since most of the decisions also impact them?
So a question about, kind of a related question about how do we get feedback from students, and maybe particularly as we've made decisions this spring. I do think that we've had some feedback from students on the decisions that we've made. We've tried to keep the lines of communication very open. I know I've heard from many students. I think others have as well, and when we hear from a student, we work very hard to respond. We've not done a survey, and I think probably the primary reason for that is we've not really at every juncture had unlimited options. Many of the decisions we've had to make have been within a pretty tight constraint given safety and health concerns, and also have had to be made quickly in many cases so that we were positioned as we needed to be. That said, we've tried very hard not to minimize student feedback and to understand the challenges that this semester has given our students. I also think as we come on through this semester and we look to the future, we're going to want to take some time and do this in a variety of ways to assess what we've learned this semester, assess what kind of decisions we've made and how they might have been made differently. What would we do if faced with a similar situation in the future? So I think there'll be some opportunity for gathering further information from students as we look ahead.
Have decisions been made about in-person classes for summer B?
Have we made a final decision about in-person classes for summer B? At this time, our plan is that we will offer a mix of both in-person and online classes, and that is what is on the schedule. That's how students are registering, aware of whether a class is online or in person. We will have to, of course, continue to assess and evaluate, and just a bit later confirm what our plans are. But right now, based on everything we know, it is still our plan to offer some in-person classes.
Will students be able to submit the federal reimbursement form twice?
So this is a question actually that we've discussed. Could a student submit the federal reimbursement form twice? Our best understanding right now is yes, a student could do that if it was based on demonstrating a different need than what was submitted the first time. And so as we've looked at this and understand it, we do believe that with the documented need, a student could submit a second application for aid. That again, more specifically, if you had a more specific aspect to that question, could be directed to Student Financial Services.
Parent question, do students have the opportunity to participate in faculty hiring committees? Has student participation been allowed in the past? If so, why did this stop?
So a question about students participating in faculty hiring committees. We do utilize students in faculty searches. The way we do this is when we have candidates for faculty positions on campus, they're invited to make a couple of presentations as well as to have reception time to informally get to know our campus. And students are included in that process. So as we do a search for any faculty position in any area, we do include the students in that. And then they're invited to give feedback on the candidates. And so that is taken into account. I can tell you from my days as Vice President for Academic Affairs that as recommendations for the hiring of faculty came to me, always included in those recommendations was some information on how the students responded to the candidates. And if students really were concerned about a candidate's strengths or concerned about their teaching, that came through loud and clear and was certainly taken into account when final decisions were made. I always would say, and I know that those who've come after me would say, that strong teaching is critical at TLU, and that has to be demonstrated and continued once the new faculty member is here. That is just something we place a very high premium on. So we have had student input into this process, and that will continue.
Comment from a student, I'm actually enjoying the online classes. I wish there were more online classes offered in the fall.
So a student commenting that they've actually enjoyed online classes and they wish there will be more in the fall. This is a really interesting point on a couple of levels, and I appreciate you sharing that. One is if we are to have more online classes, what is the best way to do that? Again, what have we learned from this spring and what would we need to take into account looking ahead? And what are our students going to be telling us from this spring in terms of what the more, I guess I'll say, ideal arrangement would be in terms of face-to-face and online offerings. We know that our strength is as a personal community with a lot of individual interaction between faculty and students and others on our campus, and that's a real hallmark for TLU, and I don't see that changing. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't begin to incorporate more online delivery around that core of face-to-face classes. But we want to do it in a strong way. We want to do it, hopefully, the next time around with more time to plan and make sure that it makes sense for who we are as an institution.
Another question from a student, where and how will we be receiving our refund for meal plan and housing?
So a question about the refund for room and board, meals and housing. Those checks are being sent this week, and they're being sent to your home address. If you have any question about that, if you're worried about us having the right address, anything like that at all, if by, I would say, the end of next week you don't have your check, please be in touch with Student Financial Services, because as of this morning, they've reported that the checks are prepared and ready to be mailed tomorrow.
Will you be having another one of these live stream town hall meetings even though the semester is ending?
A question about having another live stream town hall. Thank you for that. I appreciate I'll read it as an invitation to do another one. I would like to do another town hall. I feel like for students and families, I feel like there are going to be more updates to pass along to you all, more things I want to communicate. I love getting your questions. It's really helpful to me and to all of us to hear your questions. So we'll just take a look at when would be the best time to do that. I know summer will have probably some different scheduling for everyone, but let's just say that I will definitely do another student town hall in the weeks ahead.
There are a lot of students struggling with converting to online classes. Some have their program placements, like the education and nursing programs, on the line. Will there be a safety net to help?
So this is a question about students who have struggled with online and then have a lot of things that they're having to sort through. Maybe, I think it could be true for all of our programs, but in this question, nursing and education were cited, and going to the point of, is there a safety net for these students? I would say there is. I would say that safety net begins, again, with the faculty and students being able to talk to them about their concerns. If they feel like they didn't get something they needed this semester to prepare them, or they're not understanding what they feel like they need to be prepared for the next step, some sort of external exam or preparation to apply for the next level in their program. Absolutely, the best thing to do is to let your faculty member know that and to hear their suggestions for how you can prepare and what can be done to get you ready, because that is absolutely what we want to have happen.
Question from a parent. A spike in the virus has been predicted for the fall. Will students have the option of taking classes online, even if the state allows a return to school?
So this is a question, a health question about the prediction of a spike in the virus in the fall, and then if that were to happen, what kind of options our students would have. So of course, this is one of the things that we are looking at closely, and it's one of the reasons we have not yet announced our final plans for the fall. I do think some predictions are out there that there could be a return, particularly if we're not smart and safe as we work through the months ahead. I think it also depends on what sources you look at. I read recently that all of us, as we're following predictions, should be looking at least 4 different sources, because there's so much different information out there, to get some sense of where the actual prediction might align with what will happen. But so there's that, being prepared, using information to the best way possible. But if we were to get into that situation, if we were to have students back and then see a resurgence in the virus, we would again move quickly to do everything that we have to do to have safety on this campus. If anything, we've learned that very clearly this semester, and we would not do anything to have a dangerous situation for our students on this campus or for our faculty and staff. I would say that I hope and I believe that we all have some opportunity to head that problem off, again, by being smart and safe, taking precautions, maybe doing some things that we're tired of doing or we think we should be done with doing now, but keep doing them so that we have an impact on minimizing the chance of that spike in the fall.
Is there any partial refunds for service fees in progress? Numerous other universities are refunding partially because we aren't using those services anymore. We only receive them for half a semester.
So this is a question that's come up before about service fees and the refunding of those fees in addition to the room and board refund. TLU is staying with the decision we made that we would refund room and board, but not refund service fees, and that's still primarily because we have worked very hard to maintain our services to students, to keep our offices available to students, to keep our campus fully staffed, even though largely in remote environment. And so we really felt that it was most appropriate to refund only on room and board. Now that said, I will again remind you that if students are struggling financially, if payments of those fees has created other hardships where you're now having difficulty paying for other necessities, then you should look at applying for the emergency aid that we have available.
There's a comment. Dr. Cottrell, thank you for working so hard and keeping us updated. These are so important and informative for us. Please stay well and know that you are supported by all of us. We see you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was another nice comment, thanking me for the support and for these kinds of town halls. And I'll just say you're welcome, and it's my pleasure.
We have a few more. One from a student. Will the cost of tuition be the same amount if we do hypothetically have to convert to online only for the fall semester?
A question about fall tuition and would it be changed if we have to convert to online. At this point, we've made no decision about changing our tuition plan for the fall, and we do plan to have further communication out about that in the near future. It's a difficult question to answer in terms of if we had to go online in the fall, then what impact would that have on tuition? Since we've not made the decision to go online in the fall, then we've not made a decision to change our tuition plan. But I think all of that will be evaluated as we move forward. We do understand that if we were faced with a very different arrangement in the fall, then we would need to evaluate all of our approach to the fall, and we'll be sure to do that.
Another comment for you. Thank you for the daily updates and multiple town halls, very helpful.
All right, thank you.
The last question is a parent question. A benefit of everything slowing down has been improvement of the environment. Is there anyone on staff who has been tasked with environmental responsibility, like not using plastic bags or styrofoam?
So a question, an observation about one of the benefits of this time being the opportunity to help our environment. I think that's a great point. Our Safety and Emergency Management Committee does include people who are very interested and focused on environmental sustainability. I would say this is an issue that predates the pandemic here at TLU, as we've worked hard to understand what we can do to be a more environmentally responsible campus. I think we have more to do on that front, but I do think that we've got people who are thinking about this, and the reality is, with an empty campus and less activity on our campus, we have been able to do more to protect the environment and protect our campus. Again, I think this is a great area where we've learned some things and we can learn more and think about how we apply that looking to the future.
Garrett Garza has a message he wants me to read to you. Thank you so much for everything you have done for this school, and thank you for your kind words after nationals. They helped.
Well, Garrett, you're welcome. You are a great student athlete, and we're so proud of you, and we hate that your season was cut short. We know what greatness you were on the verge of achieving, so thank you for sending that message in today, and my best to you.
That's a really great final message.
All right, so we're going to stop with that, and I do need to say a huge thank you for all of those really good questions. I appreciate that you're interested in all these issues and that you're thinking about the future, and I hear loud and clear a commitment to TLU through all of that, and I really do appreciate that. As we move into the end of the semester and then into summer, I encourage you to continue reading our daily updates via email. Those will continue to come either from the Safety and Emergency Management Committee or from me. Again, I'm available if you have questions or concerns, and as always, I welcome your being in touch. I miss you, and I wish each and every one of you very good results on those exams and then a very good summer. Thank you so much for being such great Bulldogs. Stay safe and well.